and they lived happily ever after.
Mr. Andrea Bocelli?
We had a story, a song.
If at some point in life you lose your light, look toward Andrea Bocelli, for he has created his own. In a world where the stage glows under dazzling lights, there is one man who sings in darkness. He cannot see his audience, yet he makes millions across the planet weep. That voice, tender yet tragic, is more than music. It is a testament to love, to pain, and to hope. From a blind child, Andrea Bocelli rose to become a global symbol of courage and faith. His life is a symphony of paradoxes, having lost sight, yet seeing the truth of life more clearly than anyone else, carrying a physical limitation, yet healing the hearts of others through music. And now, at 66, when the world believes he has it all, fame, happiness, legacy, Andrea Bocelli still faces his own inner storms, loneliness, illness, and the burden of a soul constantly searching for the true meaning of light. Because in the end, he is not merely a singer, he is the light, forged from the very darkness itself. Amid the rolling hills of Tuscany, in a small village called Lajatico near Pisa, stood a humble farmhouse, where the story of Andrea Bocelli began. He was born on September 22, 1958, the younger of two brothers. His father, Alessandro Bocelli, sold agricultural machinery and cultivated vineyards. His mother, Eddie Bocelli, stayed home to care for the children and manage the household. They lived simply with little to spare, but their home overflowed with love. In that warmth and quiet diligence, young Andrea grew up surrounded by the sounds of wind brushing through the vineyards, the hum of his father's machines, and his mother's singing, the first melodies that nurtured his musical soul. Yet fate tested him even before his first cry. During pregnancy, his mother suffered a severe case of appendicitis, and doctors advised her to terminate the baby to save her own life. But Eddie Bocelli refused. She chose to keep her child, despite the risk. A decision Andrea would later say, saved not just my life, but my soul. From that moment, he developed an unshakable faith in the sanctity of life and became a vocal advocate against abortion in all circumstances. Andrea was born fragile, with congenital glaucoma that left him almost blind. He saw the world only through blurred contrasts of light and shadow, sunlight like smoke, his mother's face a soft silhouette. So he learned to perceive through sound. The wind sweeping across the wheat fields, the murmur of water striking stones, the lowing of cattle at dusk, and the folk songs drifting from neighboring houses. Those sounds painted my world, he once said, more vividly than any image ever could. From early on, his parents refused to raise him in pity. They believed compassion could never replace resilience. So Andrea was encouraged to learn instruments, piano, guitar, flute, trumpet, drums, as a way to understand the world with his own hands. At 6, he began piano lessons, a decision his parents called a window to the world, knowing that music was the only language their son could truly see. But the miracle lay not in the number of instruments he learned, but in how he learned them. Bocelli learned entirely by ear, hearing a piece once, then reproducing it perfectly on the piano without ever seeing a single note. After losing his sight completely at age 12, he continued to study music notation in Braille, reading notes with his right hand, memorizing them, then playing with both hands. Each piece became a mental equation, where every sound was seen through imagination and the sensitivity of his fingertips. He once said, "I hear and I see through sound." For him, the piano was not just an instrument, but a doorway, a passage to freedom within the darkness. One day, his old nanny, Oriana, gave him a small gift, a record of Franco Corelli, the legendary Italian tenor. The boy listened, stayed silent for a long time, then burst into tears. "How can a human being sing like that?" he asked his mother. From that moment, a seed was planted. one that would someday bloom in the dark. Then tragedy struck. At 12, during a football match with friends, the ball struck his head. Blood poured, his brain hemorrhaged, and the faint light he once clung to was gone. Doctors tried everything, even applying leeches to draw out the blood, but nothing worked. Andrea descended into permanent night. He would later recall, that was the moment when true darkness began. Yet in that cold hospital room, a miracle occurred. Someone played an old recording of Franco Corelli. The voice filled the air, radiant, alive. Andrea lay still, tears streaming down his face, and in that instant the blind boy saw his path through music. From then on, darkness was no longer a prison. It became the space where sound came alive, where a child once fated to live in silence would learn to make the world listen. Andrea Bocelli once said, "Music has always been an essential need for me. Something in my DNA, a medicine, a way to bring gentleness to life. My mother told me that even as a baby, whenever I heard classical music, especially opera, I would stop crying." During his school years, Andrea attended a boarding school for the blind, far from home, family, and familiar faces. Life there was harsh and lonely. 64 students shared a single large dormitory, and each was given a small glass of wine daily to stay warm. On long nights, when everyone else had fallen asleep, the 12-year-old boy would quietly listen to the wind through the window and think of home. He later recalled, "I lay awake every night, missing home, and music was the lamp that kept the darkness from winning." As he grew older, wishing to please his parents, Andrea decided to study law at the University of Pisa, a practical choice, one that promised stability, even though his heart still belonged to music. As a blind student, Bocelli relied on a tape recorder to capture lectures, memorizing everything by heart. He said those years taught him patience, discipline, and a memory of steel, the very qualities that would one day sustain him on stage. But beyond his studies, he had to learn how to survive. At 18, Bocelli began playing piano in local bars to pay for his education, earning a living while keeping his musical dream alive. On those nights, he would sit behind an old piano, surrounded by cigarette smoke and noisy laughter. Yet the moment he began to sing, the room would fall silent. Bocelli once said, "Those bars were my rehearsal rooms, where I learned to sing in a way that could reach the hearts of people who weren't even listening." After a year practicing law, Andrea Bocelli still felt something missing. While his colleagues immersed themselves in files and courtroom debates, melodies kept playing in his mind. "I love justice," he once said, "but my heart does not belong to the courtroom." And then destiny came, not through light, but through sound. In 1992, Italian rock singer Zucchero Fornaciari was searching for a tenor to record a demo of Miserere to send to the great Luciano Pavarotti. Through a mutual acquaintance, Bocelli, then a young blind lawyer who played piano in bars at night, was invited to audition. He sat before the piano and began to sing. When the demo reached Pavarotti, just seconds in, the maestro listened, paused, and said, "Why do you need me, when you already have this man?" That single sentence became his ticket of fate. From an unknown lawyer, Bocelli was invited to join Zucchero's European tour, performing before tens of thousands, something he had never dared dream of. Within 2 years, the name Andrea Bocelli began to appear on major stages across Europe. In 1994, at the Sanremo Music Festival, he captivated Italy with Il mare calmo della sera, the calm sea of the evening. It wasn't just his first victory, but a grand introduction of a future legend. 2 years later, Bocelli and Sarah Brightman released Time to Say Goodbye, a song that would forever change his career. The song topped charts in over 20 countries, selling more than 12 million copies, becoming a universal anthem of farewell and emotion. Bocelli's voice, powerful yet fragile, could silence both opera houses and stadiums alike. He didn't just sing, he told, through sound, the story of a man who had lost everything and still found his way back. From 1994 to 1999, Bocelli rose to global phenomenon status. His album, Romanza, 1997, sold over 25 million copies, becoming the best-selling classical crossover album of all time. In 1998, he was invited to perform at the White House for President Bill Clinton and British Prime Minister Tony Blair, the first blind Italian singer ever to grace a US-UK diplomatic gala. Another peak followed with Sacred Arias, 1999, recognized by Guinness World Records as the best-selling classical album in history. That same year, Bocelli was honored at the World Music Awards as Classical Artist of the Century. His international tours drew hundreds of thousands of fans, from New York to Tokyo, from the Colosseum in Rome to Notre Dame in Paris. Yet the brilliance of the spotlight always cast its shadow of doubt. Some traditional opera critics accused him of being impure, of diluting classical music. They said Bocelli was too commercial, too sentimental. But he never lashed back. He simply replied, "Art is not about rules, it's about emotion." That answer defined his entire career. Bocelli didn't sing opera for the elite. He sang it for everyone. He turned the most difficult genre in the world into a language anyone could understand, blending pop and classical, a style that would later inspire artists like Il Divo, Josh Groban, Katherine Jenkins, and Sarah Brightman to follow. From opera houses to open squares, from cathedrals to stadiums, Bocelli redefined the very concept of the crossover tenor, the artist who carried opera beyond its boundaries. He sang in places no one had ever dared to perform, standing before hundreds of thousands without a guide. Completely blind, he memorized the stage through echoes and the feel of the wind, stepping out to perform in absolute silence. Colleagues often said that when the stage lights dimmed, he needed no one to lead him. He simply walked straight into the darkness, calm as if he were walking home. Once, during his Voices of Hope tour in Florence, a heavy rain and fierce wind struck the venue. Yet Bocelli sang through the entire night, his voice unwavering. The sight moved the entire audience to tears. Bocelli once said, "I don't need to see my audience to feel them. I can hear their hearts through their applause." The further he went, the more he proved that success is not a gift of luck, but the result of discipline, faith, and perseverance. In 2006, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, honored as the man who brought opera to the world. From then on, he became a bridge between two worlds, classical and contemporary, the sacred and the public. His songs appeared in films, funerals, weddings, and sports events, as if his voice had become part of humanity's shared memory. Despite reaching heights few could imagine, Bocelli still carried the humility of that Tuscan farm boy. He never forgot that he was once a blind child playing piano to pay for his studies. Each time he returned to L'Attico, he performed at the Teatro del Silenzio, the Theater of Silence, which he founded in his hometown valley. It opens only one day each year, then remains silent for the other 364. Perhaps that is the most perfect symbol of Bocelli's life itself. Silence and then song. A man who once studied law to please his parents, who once played piano in smoky bars to survive, has now become the voice that brings light to millions. From the courtroom to the cathedral, from darkness to the summit of the world, Andrea Bocelli has proven that while sight can fade, faith and music never will. When the first glimmers of fame began to shine on his artistic path, Andrea Bocelli was still just a simple man, a heart longing to love and be loved. His love did not come through sight, but through sound. On a smoky evening in a small bar in Pisa, where the piano played softly and a 17-year-old girl stopped to listen in silence. Enrica Cenzatti was then a high school student, while Bocelli, 29 years old, a blind law student, was playing music to pay his tuition. He could not see her, yet he felt her presence through her breath and through the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Enrica would later say, "When I heard that voice, I knew it was a sound I would never forget." Despite their 12-year age gap and different backgrounds, they quickly grew close. Their love began not with a gaze but with sound and empathy, something only those who have lived in darkness can truly understand. Enrica didn't just love Bocelli, she believed in him. She encouraged him to abandon law and pursue music. While he studied under the legendary tenor Franco Corelli, it was Enrica who supported him from behind, helping him pay tuition with the money he earned from playing in bars, where love, music, and sacrifice intertwined in the simplest way. After 5 years of dating, they married on June 27, 1992, the very same year Bocelli recorded Miserere, which made Pavarotti exclaim in awe. Many would later call Enrica his lucky charm, for Bocelli's career truly began to flourish after their marriage. The first years of their marriage were among the happiest of his life. They lived in a small house in Tuscany, surrounded by vineyards, a piano, and the laughter of children. Enrica gave birth to Amos on February 22, 1995, and Matteo on October 8, 1997. Both were raised with love and discipline. Amos would later become a sound engineer, while Matteo followed in his father's footsteps, emerging as a new generation star, carrying the Bocelli name into the future. Enrica was a woman of the home, discreet, gentle, and kind. While Bocelli toured the world, she stayed behind, teaching their children, cooking, and waiting for her husband to return. Neighbors often said that whenever he came home, Enrica always left a warm meal on the table. But over time, those meals grew colder, as he returned later and later from each tour. As fame surrounded him, distance began to grow. Bocelli was no longer the unknown musician playing in smoky bars. He was now an international star, constantly moving between Rome, New York, and Tokyo. Enrica, the woman who had once loved him in simplicity, could not bear that blinding spotlight. She avoided cameras, refused interviews, and stayed away from public events. Gradually, their worlds split in two, one reaching outward to the globe, the other retreating into a small home in Tuscany. People said that some nights, there were only 3 people at that dinner table: Enrica and the 2 boys eating quietly under the dim light, while Bocelli's plate sat untouched, growing cold. It became the saddest metaphor for a love that had once burned brightly but was slowly consumed by fame. After 10 years of marriage, they divorced in 2002, quietly, without drama or lawsuits. No scandals, no public fights, just 2 people who had once loved deeply but could no longer bear the weight of the world between them. Bocelli said in an interview, "She gave me 10 years of her life and 2 sons. I will never speak ill of her." After their separation, they maintained a peaceful, respectful relationship. They shared custody of their children. Enrica continued to live near Bocelli's home in Forte dei Marmi, Tuscany, so the boys could see their father anytime. Remarkably, she also remained on good terms with Veronica Berti, the woman who later became Bocelli's second wife. When Bocelli and Veronica married in 2014, Enrica attended the wedding, an image that deeply moved many, symbolizing rare kindness and grace. Since the divorce, Enrica has almost completely vanished from public life. No social media, no remarriage, no presence in show business. It is known that she devoted herself entirely to her 2 sons, living quietly in her old Tuscan home. Some reports claim she received around $10 million in the settlement, but she has never flaunted wealth or sought attention. Italian media often call her the traditional Italian mother, the woman who sacrificed her youth to nurture a legend, quietly holding the family together while the world applauded her husband. In the eyes of the public, Enrica Cenzatti represents a love that asks for nothing in return. The woman who accepted a blind man when he was nobody and walked away when he had everything. the mother who raised two true artists without ever standing in the spotlight, and the ex-wife who chose kindness as her way of leaving, not bitterness, not resentment. Even in his later years, Bocelli still speaks of Enrica with gratitude. He says it was she who taught him the value of a peaceful home, something fame could never buy. And Enrica, though no longer the wife of a legend, remains an irreplaceable part of his life story. The woman who lit the first flame, allowing the light of Andrea Bocelli to shine across the world. Drowning in loneliness after the collapse of his first marriage, Andrea Bocelli once believed that music would be his only companion. He said, "There are pains that need no witness, only music must know." But fate, as always, had another movement prepared, a meeting that would change the rest of his life. In 2002, at a music party in Italy, 44-year-old Bocelli, still healing from divorce, met 18-year-old Veronica Berti, young, unassuming, and with eyes he said he could feel even without seeing. He recalled that moment to The Guardian. "I was struck by her voice and her skin. I sang to her my first aria that night, Occhi di Fata, Eyes of a Fairy. The whole room went silent. It was the quickest start of my life because we moved in together that very night. In truth, the marriage began right there. It was love at first sight, yet not one that flared and faded. It was enduring, deep, and matured with time. Despite a 26-year age difference, they shared a rare connection through music and faith. Bocelli said he felt in Veronica the serenity I had lost. In the early years, Veronica was not only his lover, but gradually became his partner, manager, and the keeper of his rhythm. She organized his tours, accompanied him around the globe, and later became vice president of the Andrea Bocelli Foundation, ABF, where the two transformed fame into humanitarian action. It was she who woke him in the middle of the night after learning of the devastating 2010 Haiti earthquake, prompting him to establish a relief fund, the beginning of a long charitable journey that continues to this day. Bocelli said, "Faith is my compass, and she is the one who helps me walk in the right direction." That love not only revived Bocelli's heart, but also brought a second light into his life. In 2012, they welcomed their daughter, Virginia, the little girl he called the smallest and greatest miracle at once. When he first held her, he said, "I cannot see her face, but I know I am seeing the most beautiful thing in the world." 2 years later, on March 21, 2014, Virginia's second birthday, they married in an intimate ceremony in Tuscany, inside a small seaside church. It was a warm, simple, and deeply emotional event. A quiet declaration to the world that love can be reborn, even after heartbreak. Veronica is more than a wife. She is the metronome of his life. On tours, she stays by his side, managing every detail, from backstage to wardrobe to stage sound. For Bocelli, she is not only his partner, but also his eyes and ears in the world. Director Cosima Spender, who made the documentary Andrea Bocelli, Because I Believe, described their relationship as a beautiful collaboration, one in which he completely trusts her to take care of everything. Veronica appeared in that documentary and spoke candidly about whether she ever felt jealous, given that her husband often performed alongside beautiful female artists. People ask me, "Aren't you jealous?" No, I'm not. That would be foolish. If she's a kind, lovely person, someone you can sing about love with, all the better. She added that she is confident enough not to be shaken by such things, even to this day. It was the voice of a woman who knows exactly where she stands, not possessive, not suspicious, but grounded in absolute trust. That quiet strength is what makes Veronica the true anchor of Bocelli's life, both personally and artistically. In a 2018 interview with People magazine, Bocelli shared the secret behind the endurance of their love. If there is harmony between two people, poetry and understanding, there will be love. If not, there is nothing. He also spoke openly about the importance of physical connection, something he rarely discusses publicly. If the bedroom door opens onto a world that is beautiful and exciting, love will last. But if it opens onto boredom, it will not survive. Those were the honest words of a man who has known both solitude and passion, who understands that for love to endure, it must hold both soul and fire. For nearly 2 decades, Veronica has walked beside him through every chapter, from the grandest opera houses of Europe to the haunting silence of Milan's cathedral during the COVID-19 pandemic, where Bocelli stood alone singing to the world while she watched quietly from behind the stage. If Enrica Cenzatti was the woman who supported him through poverty and obscurity, then Veronica Berti is the one who healed and steadied him in his years of glory, the one who keeps him grounded amid blinding light. Now, in their villa in Forte dei Marmi, Bocelli still practices his vocal scales each morning, then shares breakfast with Veronica and their daughter Virginia on the terrace. Their life is not one of extravagance, but of serenity, the kind of peace he spent years trying to find again. In a recent interview, Bocelli smiled gently and said, "I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in destiny. And in God's plan, there is Veronica. She is not merely his second love. She is living proof that happiness does not come only once in a lifetime. It comes when one dares to believe again." In the journey of Andrea Bocelli, if music is the gift he has given to the world, then Veronica is the gift the world has given back to him. A reminder that light can always be found, even in the deepest darkness. At 66, Andrea Bocelli seemed to have weathered every storm life could bring. But in 2020, the world changed, and he too found himself swept into unexpected waves of controversy. In July 2020, during a speech at the Italian Senate, Bocelli shared his personal views about the country's strict COVID-19 lockdowns, saying that the measures had made people feel deprived of their fundamental freedom. The remark, born from a deeply human concern, a fear that excessive fear itself might damage people's spirits, was soon taken out of context. Within hours, Italian media headlines portrayed him as anti-science or anti-government. Just a day later, Bocelli posted a heartfelt apology on his Facebook page. "If my words have offended anyone, I sincerely apologize. I never intended to downplay the suffering so many have endured. I am simply a man who loves freedom and loves people. Not everyone has the courage to stand before the world and say, 'I'm sorry,' especially without malice." That calm humility reminded people why they had loved him in the first place. His quiet humanity, never performative, always genuine. And only months later, the same man once misunderstood moved the entire world to silence. On April 12, 2020, Easter Sunday, Bocelli stood alone in Milan's empty cathedral. No audience, no orchestra, only shafts of light through stained glass. There he sang "Amazing Grace" for the live-streamed concert, Music for Hope. More than 180 million people across the globe watched as his voice echoed through the vacant church, and they finally understood. Bocelli had never been against anyone. His message was simple. Faith and freedom are not enemies. They coexist in music and in the human spirit. Around the same time, some tabloids accused him of commercializing his blindness, turning his condition into a marketing tool. Bocelli heard it all, but responded softly, "I don't want to be seen as a miracle. I'm just a musician. I'm no different from anyone else, except that I see in another way." That single sentence carried the weight of a lifetime. When you lose outer sight, you learn to see inwardly. For Bocelli, blindness is not a tragedy but a calling, a part of his artistic destiny where music becomes his vision. The rumors eventually faded. As he once said, "Time always knows how to restore the truth." And indeed, truth stood with him. No matter the misunderstanding, Bocelli retained the trust and admiration of millions worldwide. He understands that being a public figure means being seen through many lenses. Some clarify, some distort. But as he often says, if you wish never to be misunderstood, the only way is to stop being yourself, something he could never do. At 66, Andrea Bocelli has nothing left to prove. He simply sings, believes, and lives quietly by his conviction. Honesty is not about being loved. It's about being at peace with yourself. And perhaps that is why, after every storm, when his voice rises again, the world falls silent. Letting the light of a sincere soul guide the way, Andrea Bocelli has not only left behind timeless music, he has left behind a way of living, a new definition of light. From a blind boy growing up in Tuscany to the tenor whose voice could still an entire world, his journey stands as proof that true art can transcend all boundaries, of language, of pain, and of time. Over more than 3 decades, Bocelli has sold over 90 million records and performed in the greatest theaters and stadiums around the globe, from New York to Tokyo. Yet what makes him an icon is not the numbers. It is the way he makes people believe in something good again. During the 2020 pandemic, his Music for Hope concert at Milan's Cathedral, Just Him, an Organ, and Silence, was streamed by over 180 million viewers worldwide. Without a single plea or speech, only music and faith, he reignited hope in a world drowning in fear. Beyond the stage, Bocelli and his wife, Veronica Berti, founded the Andrea Bocelli Foundation in 2011, supporting education, healthcare, and disaster recovery in Italy, Haiti, and beyond. Hundreds of schools and thousands of children have been helped, living proof of his simple philosophy, "I have received so much, therefore I must give back." His influence reaches far beyond music. In the world of opera, Bocelli redefined the idea of the crossover tenor, a bridge between classical and popular music, helping younger generations approach opera through emotion rather than technique. Artists like Josh Groban, Il Divo, and Matteo Bocelli all acknowledge that their artistic faith was inspired by him. Even in an age of technology and virtual performances, Bocelli remains the standard of the humanist artist, a man who believes that art is not the stage of the ego, but the home of the soul. Today, well into his 60s, he still sings, still composes, and still teaches his children to hold faith before an audience. For Andrea Bocelli, legacy is not measured in gold records, but in the light he has kindled in the hearts of millions. People who have known darkness, yet through him, learned to listen to the light. At 66, Andrea Bocelli is living his quietest, yet most complete, years. He resides with his wife and children at Villa Alpamare, a 3-story seaside home in Tuscany, where the sound of waves blends with piano melodies each morning. Every day, Bocelli spends time riding horses, walking under the Mediterranean sun, then returning to his studio to rehearse, a habit he calls keeping the soul awake. That home is not just a haven, it is a symbol of rebirth. After years spent walking through darkness, Bocelli has found his own light, one born of faith, family, and music that never fades. Beyond the stage, he runs the Bocelli 1831 winery, continuing his family's nearly 2-century tradition of winemaking. From the vineyards of La Hatico, the label has now reached across Europe and the US, carrying with it the flavor of his homeland. Not far away, nestled in the quiet valleys of Tuscany, lies the Teatro del Silenzio, the open-air theater Bocelli founded in 2006. It opens only once a year for him to sing to his homeland, to the earth, and to those who still believe in miracles. Alongside his art, he continues to lead the Andrea Bocelli Foundation, ABF, the humanitarian project he and Veronica established. The foundation focuses on rebuilding impoverished areas, constructing schools, and providing medical care and scholarships for children with disabilities. "I have received too much, so I must give more," he said in an interview in Florence, a simple belief that still guides every step of his work today. Despite being one of the world's most celebrated artists, Bocelli's daily life remains disarmingly simple. He enjoys traditional Italian meals, leisurely horseback rides through his vineyards, and playing piano with his children. With his calm demeanor, silver hair, and familiar dark glasses, he embodies the grace of an old-world Italian gentleman, though behind those lenses, his eyes still shine with kindness and serenity. He continues to tour internationally across Europe, North America, and Asia, often performing with his two sons, Amos and Matteo, turning each concert into a symphony of 3 generations. In 2025, Bocelli stars in the documentary Because I Believe, directed by Cosima Spender, chronicling his journey from a blind boy in Lahatico to a global musical icon. Yet despite his enduring strength on stage, his health in recent years has caused concern among fans. In winter 2023, doctors advised him to postpone 4 concerts in his American tour, warning that performing could cause serious damage to his vocal cords and body. The Boston concert was canceled moments before showtime when he could not raise his voice, and in Philadelphia, Bocelli sat by the piano while his daughter Virginia and other musicians performed in his place, 6ABC Philadelphia, Philly Voice. He later confirmed on Facebook that he was facing health challenges, difficulties that had forced several shows to be rescheduled. "The doctors told me that singing in this condition could be very dangerous," he shared. But instead of complaining, Bocelli chose silence, apologized to his audience, and said simply, "My voice is the gift I was given. I must protect it as an athlete protects his legs." Earlier in 2020, Bocelli and his family had contracted COVID-19 but made a full recovery, world's leading classical music platform. In Because I Believe, 2025, he also admits that he has battled anxiety and stage fright for many years, the fear of losing control before tens of thousands of people. And yet through it all, he remains composed and optimistic. For Bocelli, health is not just physical strength. It is a grace born of faith. Each time he returns to the stage, he says he sings not only to be heard, but to give thanks for still being able to sing. The life of Andrea Bocelli stands as proof that darkness is not the end. It is where light is born. His music is more than soaring notes reaching toward heaven. It is a prayer for resilience, faith, and kindness. God is fair. He gives no one everything, yet takes nothing away completely. Andrea Bocelli lost his sight, but was gifted ears that truly hear the world, a heart that loves deeply, and a voice powerful enough to move even the most hardened souls. When he sings, the world seems to soften, as if his voice speaks for all those who have fallen, yet still wish to rise. And as Bocelli himself once said, "If God does not give you light, become the light yourself." That message is not only for the blind, but for all of us, those still wandering through life's shadows, searching for the faith to go on. True light perhaps always begins within. Do you believe in that? Share your thoughts about Andrea Bocelli in the comments below. And if you believe in the power of music and the strength of the human spirit, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so we can spread that light to even more hearts.